All right, we are on Global Reference News. This is GRN Independent Sources, and today we are talking about a former trans person who is suing her doctor for hasty transition advice. I guess when this person was a minor, they were put through a transition, and it seems to be irreversible. Which, if you're older and you realize that you have a brain, you realize that this may not be something easy to come back from. So we're going to look into it and see what the specifics are on it and get an idea.
Yeah, come on in. What's your name?
My name's Clementine.
Nice to meet you.
I've actually seen your stuff online, and I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan. I was on puberty blockers. I started when I was 12, and I was on testosterone from 14 to 17. And
Oh, this is from Billboard's Chris, okay? Billboardchris.com.
I got top surgery at 17. Totally messed my life up. So I just want to say you're doing a good thing. I can't believe people disagree with you on this. As a former
So this person got surgery. It looks like she said she got top surgery or bottom surgery, which means that she removed her breast. And if she got bottom surgery, then yeah.
I got top surgery at 17. Totally messed my life up. So I just want to say you're doing a good thing. I can't believe people disagree with you on this. As a former child transitioner, I'm just appalled that people have anything to question you about. So I salute you.
I'm so sorry you had to go through all that. I'm glad you are through it now. Thank you so much for speaking up. That's extremely valuable because a lot of people are afraid to.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we have a little conversation about it?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, come on in this way just a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hi.
So, your name again?
My name's Clementine.
Clementine. So Clementine went on puberty blockers at what age?
12.
And you detransitioned at?
I detransitioned earlier this year, actually, but I'd been going off testosterone since about 17 because it gave me psychosis.
When did they put you on testosterone?
I was 13.
Wow.
So it was a girl who was transitioning to be a boy. And these days we have these parents that say, "Oh well, Joey feels like he's Joanne, so let's just put him on all these drugs and stuff like that." And then, kids want to be anything these days. They want to grow up to be lions and apes, and they want to grow up to be, ice cream truck man. And doesn't mean that we're actually gonna let them do it.
And when did you have a double mastectomy?
I had a double mastectomy at 14.
Wow.
I'm currently going through the process of getting reconstructive surgery, and it was harder to get that approved. I actually wasn't
Good luck
able to
with
get
that.
it approved by my insurance.
Right.
But it was much harder to get surgery.
Hopefully, she doesn't have United Healthcare.
For that
Inside joke.
than it was to actually get the original top surgery procedure.
For everyone watching this who says this isn't happening, well, it
Yeah.
happened to Clementine. At 14, a double mastectomy, puberty blockers at 12, testosterone at 13. How old are you now?
I'm 20 now. I just turned 20.
Wow.
Have you ever talked to anyone about suing?
I can't disclose
Okay.
what's going on, but yeah, it's
Okay, because I'm
It's
here to help
definitely
you
something I'd
find
like
someone
to
if you
do.
need someone.
yeah. I've spoken. Do you know Campbell Miller Payne?
I do.
I've talked with him a bunch.
Fantastic. So, Campbell Miller Payne is a law firm for dads in Texas who all left their previous law firms and started a new one just to sue for kids and young people like Clementine who've been harmed by this madness. And these are great guys. They could have done anything to make a bunch of money, but they started a law firm. They left all their previous firms. They have 18 kids between them, and they're going to cause a lot of waves. I know some good lawsuits coming too, which we aren't allowed to announce yet.
Yeah, I really
But
hope so.
that's one of the way
I don't
out of this
know-
mess we've gotten into.
I don't know how a child could consent to the loss of their fertility.
Yeah.
Children can't conceptualize that, and I think people
Right.
don't understand that.
So what got you into this in the first place?
I was sexually abused as a child, and that was totally ignored. But I started having a lot of
And that seems to be like a common denominator around a lot of people who transition or a lot of people who live, the alternative lifestyle. They were messed with as a child, because I just don't believe any of this is natural. I don't believe any of this is organic, in my opinion. I just don't. something has had to had happened to that person.
A lot of negative feelings about my body around puberty, and I was egged on by some guidance counselors that I might be transgender, and I later
There's
decided that I
always the
was really a
school.
boy and my life would be so.
It's always the school. It's always these plants that's inserted within the school that's going to tell these kids, you're this, you're that. And now they have laws, I think, especially in California, that if a kid comes out and says, oh, you know, they're Johnny, but they feel like Joanne, and you as the parent try to correct them, you can get sued and go to jail. You can probably even lose your parental rights because you're infringing on the child's rights. But, you won't give the child the right to drive a car or, you know, do some other stuff they shouldn't be doing. But they know who they are as a child, right?
So much easier because of all this abuse that I had experienced because of being a woman, and I totally just rejected womanhood because I thought that all that it meant for me was pain. Yeah, that's kind of how I got there, but
And what got
getting
you out?
out of it, getting out of it was a really difficult process for me, but mostly it was just getting the right therapy. I went to DBT therapy, and we never discussed my gender. We only discussed my sexual abuse. And after I dealt with that, I realized I didn't want to do this anymore. And the loss of my fertility and my body just started to really sink in. And I realized, like, oh my God, I built this entire persona around misogyny.
Do you know for sure that you've lost your fertility?
I'm not 100% sure,
Okay.
but
But you were on
I'm not the
testosterone
most
for
hopeful.
4
I never
years.
went through female puberty.
It's like the murder. It's like them teenagers who join gangs and they commit a murder and then they're facing life and it sinks in like, man, this is it. This is not a game. This is.
So yeah.
Right. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for speaking up. It's
Thank
extremely
you for
brave.
speaking to me.
It's extremely powerful. I'm so sorry what was done to you, but this is going to help other people, not.
Yeah, just stop bothering kids. How about that? No more drag queen story time. No more of this other nonsense. Let the parents raise the children. Yeah, the children wants to be this, they want to be that, but you go through so many changes between, you know, from birth to 20, you change careers, you change what you like, you change the different tastes you have. But, these days they're telling people, oh, you're trans, you're this, you're that, No, you're a boy, but no, you're really a girl, You're really a girl. And then they brainwash these kids into thinking that stuff, and then before you know it, they're believing it. It's insane. So you have to homeschool.
When you're talking about things that are so life-altering and impact fertility, impact function, impact your health, cholesterol, bone density, a child can't consent to becoming a lifelong patient. A child can't consent to things like what I'm gonna have to go through, which is getting surgery every single year, every single 10 years. That's something I had no idea about. I had no conception of if I even wanted children. I was a child, I couldn't think about that prospect. So I just think that's a decision that generally adults could only have the capacity to make.
Before we continue, please help the algorithm boost our reporting to ask the questions others won't by liking this video, clicking subscribe, and turning on all notifications. Thanks for supporting the Daily Signal. Now back to the video.
Shout
When
out
did
to the
you
Daily
first
Signal.
start identifying as transgender?
I was about 12 years old. I had sort of discussed the possibility of me being transgender with one of my guidance counselors, and then we sort of came to that conclusion together. But she sort of told my parents and my school without really me fully like identifying as that just yet. So it wasn't really on my own terms, but I was around 12.
What do you think contributed to you and this guidance counselor reaching that decision?
Well, pretty bluntly, I was sexually assaulted when I was really young, so I had a lot of like negative feelings about being a girl and being female. And when I first expressed those feelings and looked for answers about that online, the first thing that came up was gender dysphoria and possible gender incongruence. So I sort of started looking into that and talking about my feelings about my body with my guidance counselor, and we sort of came to that conclusion together.
And what was it like after your guidance counselor and you reached this decision? What did the guidance counselor do next?
Basically, immediately after that meeting with her, we had sort of talked for an hour and a half about it. She didn't tell me she was going to tell my parents, but basically immediately after, she called them and told them that I was transgender. So the first thing when I got home after that was my parents confronting me with like, so you want to be a boy? Like, how long have you been feeling this way? And it was very overwhelming. But basically immediately after, I just had to discuss it with my parents.
I'm sure. And then how did you find Dr. Johanna Olson Kennedy?
Yeah, so my parents found her because they were looking for experts on trans youth in the area, and they sort of took me to her with the impression that she would probably diagnose me out of this because I
Crazy thing is the parents actually let her go through with this stuff. Because just like you said in the last video, actually let her chop this stuff off and then get a hysterectomy. That's more diabolical. Like the parents are just sitting by and just letting this stuff happen and giving authorization because all this stuff happened before she turned 18. This sick. I mean, I kind of get it. Maybe I might watch a little bit more, but the point is, she hit a certain age. She woke up, realized this is not right. This is not what she wanted to do. She made a huge mistake, and now look where she's at. You get a lot of people that's later on in life, 20, 25, 30, to decide, I don't want to do this anymore, but they've been on these hormones and these pills for so long. You got women, they can't stop growing beards. They can't, it's balded them out. They've lost hair. You got men who can't get rid of the boobs. It's insane.
had no signs of gender dysphoria as a child. So they weren't really sure what she would think of me, but on that first meeting, she was pretty confident that I was trans.
Wow. And what was your experience like with her?
At first, it was a lot of surface level questions about how I fit in and how I felt with my peers and how I felt about being a girl and what I wanted my future to look like. And I had so many negative feelings about being a girl, so I felt weirdly very validated when she told me that there was a very clear diagnosis of something physically wrong with my body and that it wasn't me that was the problem, it was my body.
What do you wish that she would have said to you looking back?
In retrospect, I just wish somebody had told me that puberty is uncomfortable for everyone, but especially for young girls, and especially for young girls that have been sexually abused in their childhoods. And if she had just asked me if I had gone through sexual abuse or if I had weird experiences in my childhood that may change my opinions about gender, I think I might have come to a different conclusion. So I really wish she sort of interrogated my ideas about.
I wish your parents would have just been parents and said, hey, look, what happened to you is unfortunate. Let's just focus on some therapy to deal with the trauma you suffered, and leave all this chopping up your body and all this nonsense alone. This video goes on for about another 13 minutes. If you want to watch it, I'm sure you can, Google it and watch it. But that's pretty much all I have to say on this particular, It's just unfortunate because you have a lot of people that's making these, lifelong decisions that they can't come back from. They change their mind. They decide they want to have kids. They decide they want to be the gender they were born in. Unfortunately, it's irreversible in some, stances if you've been on this stuff long enough. But what can you say? Global Reference News is GRN independent sources. Like, share, and subscribe this video, and we'll see you in the next episode.